You're listening to Mornings on the Mall with Brian and Larry. We're giving you the rundown, not just of last night's debate, but also a preview of 3 days from now, the Iowa caucuses, the first votes in the 2016 presidential process. Joining us right now, one of the moderators of last night's debate, our good friend Bret Baier. Bret, they must have all been very upset in Iowa after seeing your Maryland Terrapins beat up on the Iowa Hawkeyes last night here in College Park, or were they not really thinking about that?
Yeah, you know what? That was an interesting game.
It was.
I think Iowa pays attention to that. They had Iowa State, big win earlier in the week, but yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, good for the Terps, bad for the Hawkeyes. All right, you're in Iowa. You were there. Obviously, so much attention, so much discussion about this debate. Do you think that the process suffered because of Donald Trump not showing up and all of the brouhaha? And I know as a journalist, you hate that your network became part of the story.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, Larry, I think, yeah, I think the process suffered. I think it was not the best thing for voters, but here's how crazy it was. At 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time, I was walking to the debate stage with two piles of questions. One that was with Trump and one that was without Trump.
Really? Even that late, you weren't sure if he wasn't going to show up?
We were still getting indications that the conversation was ongoing.
My goodness.
And as shocking as that is,
wow,
we were prepared either way. And that, is a little disjarring to the moderator.
And to the other candidates, I would think, too. Were the other candidates privy to that? Did they know that he could show up at any given moment?
Well, they knew that we gave them an ultimatum. That it was 8:45 Eastern Time, 7:45 Central. And once we got past that threshold, we finally knew that he wasn't coming. But listen, in the big picture, I don't think it's great for anybody that they don't debate. I think it's better to debate.
So I want to make sure here. You say that 15 minutes before this event was scheduled to start, you had said, okay, if you're not here by 8:45, then you can't come because obviously you've got to set up an extra podium, you have to make some changes on the stage, etc. So you sort of told him that's your drop dead, and there were some indications from the Trump camp that they were still considering the possibility.
Yeah, I mean, it was not definitive, Brian. I mean, it was really amazing. I don't know whether it was the vanilla milkshakes that Bill O'Reilly offered or what what it was, but there was still some sense that the conversation was ongoing. Yeah. And, understand that he moved his event up an hour, and conceivably, time-wise, he could have got to the debate stage, within 15 minutes from across town.
Okay, so given the fact that he did not show up and you had to go forward, I'm sort of curious. I've been backstage in previous Fox debates where you're actually planning out your questions and your strategy. I mean, not with you, but with Brit Hume and Chris Wallace in the past. And I know you take a lot of time to think about this and how you're going to go about it. Did you have a conversation about, okay, if he's not here, do we address, as Megyn Kelly said, the elephant not in the room? What was that conversation like?
Yeah, we talked about it a lot, and there was a vigorous debate about whether we do a couple of questions about Donald Trump. And I said, listen, if he's not there, I guarantee you that that there will be, candidates who will say, listen, this debate is not about the guy who's not here. And sure enough, I mean, Ted Cruz in that first answer.
He was ready, no doubt.
He was ready, and he said, let's move on. That's all we have to talk about. I actually believed that more candidates would say more about Trump. And so we were happy that we dedicated one question, and then we moved on.
Hey, Bret, could I ask you, and you know that I have great respect for you and your career and what you do on a nightly basis on Special Report, and I think actually you did a great job last night.
This is a great preamble, by the way.
Well,
because here comes the big question.
I think it's a question, not just what some of the voters are feeling, but certainly what we saw on stage last night from some of the candidates, and not just last night. This has been a growing trend. There clearly is a philosophy behind some of the questions that and you've heard this criticism. I'm not raising new ground here, I don't think, about asking questions from one candidate about what another candidate said about them. And I know you hear the argument. A lot of voters feel like that's sort of begging them to start beating up on each other. What is the thought process behind that?
Well, I mean, listen, Larry. Do you want 7 press conferences? Do you want, just a Q&A, like they come on your radio show?
No, I want a debate, but
you want them to engage in topics, and one of them, substantively, for example, immigration. We played those sound bites of what the candidates said themselves.
I thought that was great. That was great because it was directed right at the candidates. But then after a candidate gave an answer, the question was then turned to another candidate and said, well, do you think that so-and-so has flip-flopped on their position? I mean, that's, I guess, where I think some voters think, come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's tough. It's an interesting debate, whether you pose those questions. If they're on the trail with sharpened elbows and delivering these lines, why shouldn't they, make those distinctions on the stage?
Yeah. No, listen, I understand. I get that, and it is good television, too. And I was glued to the set last night,
absolutely.
Brett. I really was.
But I like the preamble because it always tells me what the question's coming.
That's why you're the best.
All right, Bret. Listen, we greatly appreciate it. I'm going to be there on Saturday and through the caucuses, so maybe we'll run into each other while I'm there.
I'll get you a milkshake.
Yeah, vanilla.
Yeah,
actually,
you know what?
I prefer strawberry if I have my choice.
Listen, you refer. What is that all about? What's with
the
milkshake?
What is the milkshake thing about? Do you know?
Well, I think they just have this long relationship, and apparently they get milkshakes together. I don't know.
All right, Bret. Sometimes a milkshake is just a milkshake. All right.
Thanks for the milkshake.
Thanks, Bret. We appreciate it.
I bought you so many vanilla milkshakes you want me. Will you just consider?
Great debate last night, Bret. Thank you.